Hello! So today I am going to do this live video about Reiki 101. So what is Reiki? Because I know that there's a lot of people who are kind of curious about it, and I would like to talk a little bit more in depth about what Reiki is, why I practice. I did a live video several months ago about kind of my story and how I started to do Reiki, and so now I'm really just going to be focusing on what even is Reiki. So if you're curious, what you're going to learn is, what is Reiki? Why might you get a Reiki session? Why might you get attuned to Reiki? What does that even mean? So I'm just going to go ahead and dive right in. If we haven't met before, my name is Grace, and I have been a Reiki practitioner for almost 2 years. I was attuned in March 2023. And I was attuned to Reiki because I was a yoga instructor first, and I really loved yoga, and my yoga instructor was a Reiki master. And so when I heard that she was doing a Reiki level 1 and 2 workshop, I was curious about it. I didn't even really know what Reiki was. We'd done a group Reiki experience, and I was like, I think that kind of worked. And then, but energy, if you're not into that world, energy healing can seem a bit like, wait, what's actually happening right now? So I did that, and then I did another group Reiki experience, and I was like, yeah, I still don't totally understand it, but I think I'm gonna do this anyway. So I got attuned to Reiki level 1 and 2 in this weekend workshop, and completely changed my life. My business is Reiki now. Reiki, I feel like it guides everything I do. I'm super passionate about it. I use it every day on myself. I've used it on friends and family, and they love getting Reiki. And it's just something where I'm like, oh my gosh, why doesn't everybody know about this? Why have more people not been attuned to Reiki? And so a big part of my mission is just to kind of spread my story about how I got attuned, what it even is. It's not this like big scary thing. It's not even that like hard to grasp as a concept. It's just like pure good. So I wanted to go a little bit more in depth about what Reiki is. So the word Reiki is Japanese, so Reiki is a Japanese energy healing technique. Energy healing's been around for forever, but Reiki in particular was a particular type of energy that was discovered or rediscovered about 100 years ago. Now, nobody knows like who was using this energy before that. It's just that the founder of Reiki, who was Usui, which is what this lineage of Reiki is named after. It's called Usui Reiki. He found this type of energy 100 years ago. He was seeking enlightenment in Japan, and he went up to a mountaintop, and he went there seeking enlightenment, and the story's pretty intense, actually. He went up there, and he was like, I'm not coming back down until I've reached enlightenment. So he was basically willing to die unless he reached enlightenment. So he got the gift of Reiki bestowed on him, on that what do you call it? Like trek, on that voyage, on that mission. So basically what happened was he was stunned by this bright white light, and when he started heading down the mountain to tell everybody what had happened, he stubbed his toe, and he put his hands to his foot because it was bleeding a lot, and then his foot was healed. So obviously his Reiki, since it was so fresh, it was probably really intense. Like it actually like healed his foot with his hands on it. Reiki today, it doesn't quite work like that. Like if I was going to put my hands on an injury, it wouldn't just like make the injury vanish. But it's a very similar concept. It's kind of like laying of hands. It's where Reiki is channeled through my hands to my client. So it can be done in person or via distance, kind of like I just gestured here right now. I do a lot of distance Reiki videos, and that's because energy can travel. It like transcends time and space. So it can travel through objects, through clothing. It can go across the world. It can also go to the future and to the past. So basically what I work on with my clients during my energy healing sessions is just helping their own energy flow a lot more healthily, and clearing out any energy blocks that might be causing them any kind of illness, disease, discomfort in their life. So a big part of that is working on the human body energy systems. So those include the chakras, the meridians. There's basically what I do during my session is I let my hands intuitively guide me to where I need to go for each person. I usually start by the session by opening it up, just kind of asking like, okay, any spiritual guides that this person might have that are going to come in and assist in this healing are welcome to come in. I ask the person's higher self, like, okay, what do we need to work on today? Please guide and assist with this Reiki session. I make sure that I'm grounded and centered as well. And then I let my hands guide me to where I need to go. A big part of practicing Reiki is using intuition. So for me, what that looks like is I actually oftentimes feel what's going on in my client's body and my own body. So whether that's via distance or in person is worked both ways. So sometimes I'll get a little hint of like all of a sudden my jaw, like I'll just start clenching my teeth. And I have to remember like, okay, no, this probably means that the client is experiencing some jaw tension. Or if I have like angry thoughts, or if I start feeling sad, like tearing up and crying is something that is really common that happens to Reiki practitioners during a session. And it's because it's like the energy is kind of guiding them to what they need to be working on for their client. So I will I'll let my hands guide me. I'll listen to what's coming up in my body. It also works visually. So sometimes I'll have like images come up, or like colors, or certain emotions, or just any other kind of sign that my intuition is guiding me to a certain place in my client's body that needs to be worked on. Now, what problems like can be solved with Reiki? What is it that I'm working on? A lot of times there's emotional releases that can happen as a result of a Reiki session. So emotions can be stored in the body. They can also be stored in the mind, and they can just be accessed through the body. So a lot of times that can be going on. Sometimes, a lot of times what's happening during a Reiki session is we're clearing up blocked or stagnant energy, especially through the chakras, but it can happen anywhere in the body. So if there's stagnant energy in a part of somebody's body, then that blocks the healthy flow of their own energy. And that can cause a lot of issues. It can cause disease in that one part of their body. It can cause imbalances elsewhere. And so if I'm trying to help release using Reiki to help release a block or any kind of stagnant energy, what that's going to do is help things flow a lot more easily. So they might feel a lot more light. They might feel more positive because they had kind of like an accumulation of negative energy. People sleep a lot better after a Reiki session. A lot of times people come for help with sleep issues. Like energy can be like melted off. It can be like burned away. Sometimes people feel cold actually during a Reiki session. They can either feel heat or cold. Both are signs that energy blocks are being removed and that there's releases happening. Yawning is super common during a Reiki session, like tummy gurgles. Like I mentioned, emotional release can happen. It can help with physical pain as well. So a lot of times if a client comes in with a headache, or sometimes they actually come in for help with healing an injury, Reiki can help with that. So Reiki helps on like an energetic and on a physical level. So say if somebody got an injury, but there's actually a lot of like emotional baggage tied to that as well, or if there was a lot of fear in the moment that they got that Reiki injury, or they got that bodily injury, like say it's a knee issue, then what happens for me during the Reiki session is I'll actually ask them a bit about that injury and what led up to that and what was going on for them at the moment and how they feel about that energy right now, or about that injury right now. And I'll actually send Reiki to the past when that moment happened, when the injury happened in the knee. Just helping that person, like reminding them like it's okay, you're safe, things are gonna work out okay. I'll also just send Reiki in general to the area, just to promote like healthy healing of that injury. So of the body. 111. I always love angel numbers. I just saw it's 1:11 p.m. So anyway, sending Reiki energy to that injury to help it heal on a physical level, emotional level, energetic level. Another thing that can happen when people come in for a Reiki session is sometimes they have just a lot of negative energy from other people. So from other people in their lives, or maybe they've internalized a lot of negative feedback, and so it's kind of like a feedback loop in their mind. Reiki can help with that too. So Reiki is 100% positive energy. It comes from an infinite source, say like in the sky. Nobody really knows like where exactly, time and space. So Reiki practitioners are attuned to this huge source of Reiki energy. everybody can channel Reiki a little bit. It's just that practitioners who are attuned to it, their channel to it is opened, like literally through their crown chakra. Their channel is open, so they can channel Reiki energy much more purely. So that's kind of like the difference between if someone was just like waving their hands over you or using their own energy versus using actual Reiki energy. Yeah, that's a little bit about how people, like, what the difference between an attuned Reiki practitioner is versus just like your average person using, because there's a lot of different types of energy out there, but Reiki is just, it's its own thing. It's not necessarily like better or worse than any of the other energies. It is just like a pure 100% good healing source though. So there can be other things that people mix into their Reiki practice, but if you get attuned to Reiki, then you're only channeling Reiki energy usually. So that's just one thing to keep in mind. Like, if you're looking for a Reiki practitioner or for someone to help you, work on your energy, you can do a little bit of research into like, okay, what are they certified in? What have they been trained in? What do they actively practice with? Because there are a lot of energies and techniques out there. Reiki, though, since it comes from this pure infinite healing source, it is 100% good. It can never do harm. And since it is just 100% healing energy, when you channel Reiki towards something, it will help it heal in a really powerful and meaningful way. You can send Reiki to, thoughts. You can send Reiki to helping break bad habits. Like I mentioned, you can send Reiki to the future, to the past, for like inner child healing, or like say you're super nervous about like a dentist appointment or something. You can send Reiki actually to the future, to that dentist's office, to be there when you get there. And then of course, like I've been talking about, I use it with clients, or with my friends and family. Like if somebody at my house is like, man, I have a migraine, like I'm like right there, I'm like, use some Reiki, and I'll help work on their head to help move any energy, any excess energy that might be around. I'll help it kind of move its way along or dissolve. So yeah, that's like a little bit about what I do as a practitioner, a little bit about what Reiki is. Again, it's its own energy. It's 100% good from a big healing source. And only Reiki practitioners can channel Reiki energy to like a fuller capacity, but everybody has life force energy in their body. Everybody has energy that they can channel, but Reiki, it's much more potent and powerful. It's its own thing entirely. It can work via the screen. If I was going to send you Reiki, it can work if I had my hands on you. It could work if I had my hands hovering over you. There's lots of ways to do it. It can work in a group meditation setting. So let me see if there's anything else here. Promotes deep relaxation. So obviously during a Reiki session, people feel very deeply relaxed. Sometimes they fall asleep. And that's just because the Reiki energy, well, one, it works better if the client is much more comfortable. They can actually like kind of put their mind aside and like let the Reiki energy work on their body to clear any energetic imbalances that are happening. And then two, Reiki energy is just very comforting in nature because it is from this pure healing source and it is pure healing energy. To receive Reiki just feels absolutely amazing. If in case you haven't yet, like receiving Reiki just feels like a huge gift. It feels so comforting in the moment. And like I mentioned, a lot of clients have a lot of energy the couple days after a Reiki session because they're sleeping better, because they had all this negative energy or stagnant energy lifted. It's kind of like going to the chiropractor for your energy. Like the day of a Reiki session, I always tell my clients, drink lots of water, take care of yourself today. But yeah, Reiki works on a very deep level, emotional, physical, mental. It can help you heal deep inner wounds. So you can actually use Reiki to help you heal, any kind of like mental barriers or things that are going on for you. I mentioned inner child healing earlier. Anyway, it's very far reaching. I think the most important thing to consider when you're thinking about getting Reiki or being attuned to Reiki is your intention. So one, I think it helps if you're feeling called to it. So if you are feeling at all like the desire or curiosity about Reiki, that's usually how you know you're being called to have a session for whatever reason. And so I would listen to that. If you feel like Reiki isn't for you, then like you're not being called to it, and that's okay. You don't have to. But if you feel called to it, definitely move in that direction. because there's probably something there for you. And then your intention. So when you come in for your session, it really helps if you're clear on like, okay, why am I coming in for this Reiki session? If you have a set problem that you're wanting to solve, or if you have something that you're curious about exploring for yourself. Because in my Reiki sessions, I always sit my clients down and I ask them, okay, like, what do we want to work on? And just having them talk about it for about 10 minutes before we actually dive in, it's kind of like, it like massages the issue a little bit. It gets their conscious mind on board with what we're doing. It gets me on board too. So it's kind of like the saying, energy goes where attention goes, energy flows. And that's 100% true for receiving a Reiki session or giving a Reiki session. So it's super, super helpful. The most important thing is just your intention. What are you wanting to focus on? What are you wanting to heal with Reiki? And then of course, once you're attuned to Reiki, like if you're doing it on yourself, you can, like, I just put my hands here right now. I feel like my hands are always going with Reiki. Like I could feel it. I'm just putting my hands on myself right now and I know the Reiki's flowing. I also give myself some self Reiki, like actual treatment sometimes. So if I have a headache or something, my first go-to is usually Reiki. If I'm having any kind of like emotional distress, if like right before I do a Reiki session on somebody else, I always will give myself a little bit of self Reiki, and it's super powerful to be able to help heal myself in that way. I can send Reiki to the future, to the past for myself, yeah, it's super powerful. It truly has changed my life. Let me see if there's anything I have not covered about. I guess one thing I could do is a short like energy demo. So if you are watching this, then you can just take a second, set your phone somewhere, rub your hands together, rub them together super fast. Take a nice big deep inhale, exhale, keep rubbing your hands together, and then pull your hands apart and just keep them close to begin with, and kind of just see if you can find a little pulse. What you're looking for to feel is just kind of like, maybe you'll feel like a little bit of a cushiony feeling, or a little bit of a pull, or a little bit of warmth between your hands. So that's your own chi, your own energy that you're working with. So this is a super nice exercise I like to do and just teach people so they can kind of start to play with and sense their own energy. Because once you start to get a sense for it, like maybe you want to do this exercise a couple times, like rub your hands together, see if you can tune in and feel the energy between your hands. Maybe you feel your palms a little bit tingly. It's more than just like the warmth from the friction. That's happening too, but actual Reiki, actually like your body's energy, it's real. It's called your chi or prana or life force energy. So this is a super fun practice to do, obviously very helpful for Reiki practitioners. You can also imagine that there's like a chi ball, so like an energy ball between your hands, and you're helping it expand, and then you're making it smaller. So this is just a fun way to begin to become aware and play with your own energy. This is pretty important for Reiki practitioners to do. One thing, I always begin my Reiki sessions usually my hands together with my thumbs at my sternum, and I will just ask the Reiki energy to start flowing. Again, energy works through intention. So all I have to do is just intend for the energy to start flowing, and it will. That's what makes it so easy and accessible and so easily learned for other people. So you can just hold your hands here and just ask that, it's kind of like a prayer position. Like you can ask that the energy flows wherever you'd like it to. Sometimes people do a similar thing, like before they like take a sip of water or eat their food, they'll actually like bless their food or their meal. It's just the same idea. So there's a lot of similar techniques used across energy techniques, whether that's Reiki, whether that's prayer, whether it's your own energy, whatever's going on. It's all very similar. It's working with the same system. It's working with like the aura. That's another huge part of the human body energy system. The chakras, the meridians, like I mentioned earlier. Just putting like good vibes, putting good vibes out there. So just playing with that and seeing if you can feel the energy move between your hands and what that's like. So yeah, with that being said, Reiki it's made to be simple. It's designed to be simple for a reason, and that's so that anybody can use it who wants to. Anybody can be attuned at least to Reiki level 1. There's a few different levels in Reiki. Level 1 is just for anybody who wants to be attuned to Reiki and just have the ability to heal with their hands. Level 2 is more like if you want to open up a professional practice, it kind of takes it a little bit more in depth. And then there's the Reiki master level. And the master level, the biggest thing that's different is that it's like a little bit more powerful energy, and then you can also pass on the ability to channel Reiki energy to other people. So it's like you become a channel that then helps other people become channels. But the techniques are super simple. Anybody can learn how to do it. Likely, most people who come to Reiki are already very intuitive people. And so it comes quite easily and naturally to them to sense energy in their own body, to know, like, it's easy for them and for their hands to, like, know where to go during a Reiki session. And they're just naturals. Like, they just take off with it, with the whole idea of sending distance Reiki to people. I think that little kids, like, if you think about it, little kids, I think, are very natural at working with energy. And so if you attune like a little kid to Reiki energy, they would understand it right away. I just think that as adults, like, kind of like, it's like trauma gets stored in our body. The more things that happen to us as we get older, it's just a result of living life, it becomes a little bit harder. So, but yeah, a lot of people who are called to be attuned to Reiki, it becomes very naturally to them, and they're very natural healers and can kind of just take off with it right away. So another thing actually that I'd like to mention, I started out as a yoga instructor. So this is very good for people who are already doing other modalities like massage, yoga instructors, any kind of energy workers, empaths, anybody who's making like any kind of spiritual products or health and wellness products. You can actually infuse Reiki energy. Like I mentioned, it works by intention, right? So you can put Reiki energy, just like you'd put like good vibes or good intentions into whatever products you're making. So it can really complement a lot of other wellness modalities, especially if you're already using your hands or working with clients. Reiki's a super easy thing to tack onto there. Whenever I rub my hands together, I feel the warmth and heat. I feel my pulse in my hands. That's amazing. One of my younger cousins is still on tune with this. Whoa, that's awesome. Yeah, seriously, little kids, sometimes people just, they always remain super open, and you're like, I'm amazed by you. But yeah, little kids, they're so intuitive about it. I think it's just because they don't second guess themselves. Yeah, it's amazing. But yeah, definitely. Yeah. I honestly, and the funny thing about me is that, like, I'm a very left-brained person, and so, like, I have, like, a really great intuition, but at the same time, like, I wouldn't necessarily consider myself somebody who is super open to, like, feeling, like, or sensitive to energy in a way. Like, I was, because I was very intuitive, but I also was very left brain. And so this exercise always, for me, I think I just would always overthink it. Like, I was so frustrated. I would be like, I don't know if I'm feeling anything. But, it's really just about being able to sense your own body's energy, like moving between your hands. So if you're somebody who struggles with this, I'm right there with you. It just kind of takes a little bit of practice, I think, to kind of get out of our head and to just notice, like, what's there. And not second guess it, right? That's a big part of Reiki, is trusting. Like, if anything, that might be like the biggest thing that you work on as a Reiki practitioner, is just trusting that it's working, trusting that when you're sending distance Reiki, it is being sent, trusting that when you intend to help heal somebody, you are helping to heal them. And yeah, obviously the more you trust your channel and the more you trust Reiki and the more you trust your gifts, then the stronger it will get over time. That was a big part of my journey, and yeah, I think a lot of people are the same. But some people, it's very natural, and I'm always a little bit jealous. I'm like, what? Like, you can just feel it right off the bat. It took me like years. So yeah, it's all really funny. Okay, I think that, honestly, that covers today. It's been almost 26 minutes, so I think that's a really good introduction to what is Reiki. If you have any more questions, anybody on here or anybody who's watching this after this, I would love to hear what your questions are, and I will be answering those in the comments, or I'll get back to you. I am doing a Reiki Attunement workshop, so if you're curious about getting attuned to Reiki, then I'm doing an in-person Reiki Attunement workshop in Vancouver, Washington at Soul Ascension Studio. It's going to be Saturday, March 15th. That's going to be level 1, Reiki level 1. And then the next one is going to be April 19th and 20th. So it's about a month apart. And that's going to be for level 2. So those are going to be super powerful events, just helping other people get initiated into using Reiki, and you walk away from those workshops fully knowing how to practice Reiki for yourself. So if that's something that you're curious in, just go ahead and comment Reiki, and I'll send you more information. As well, if you're curious about just trying out a session, you can absolutely do that. Again, comment Reiki, and I'll just get back to you about that too. But yes, so if this is something that you're curious about diving more into with me, then just let me know. I'm happy to teach more about it. I am offering those attunement workshops in March and April coming up. But yeah, I just thought this would be a super great place to start. Hopefully help give people a little bit more information about what Reiki even is, and kind of go from there. So, yeah, I guess the only other thing is just if you have any questions, or I would love to hear what interests you about Reiki in particular. So if you have either of those, then go ahead and put them in the comments. But otherwise, this has been really lovely, and thank you so much. Oh, hi Jocelyn. I'm just about to hop off. I'm gonna post this in my grid though, and yeah, thank you to everybody who joined. Bye.